I wasn't supposed to take that path. It wasn't marked on the map. It wasn't listed on the board near the parking lot. And it definitely wasn't meant to be walked after sunset. But it was there. A narrow trail cutting between two tall trees. Almost hidden. Almost invisible. And for some reason, it felt like it was waiting for me. It was late October. Cold, but not freezing. The kind of cold that makes your breath visible under the moonlight. I had driven 3 hours north just to get away from everything. No noise. No traffic. No people. Just trees. The parking lot was empty when I arrived. One broken lamp flickered above the information board. It buzzed softly, like it was struggling to stay alive. I checked my phone. No signal. That should have been my first warning. The main trail was wide and clear. Safe. Predictable. But that thin path off to the side felt different. Not inviting. Not welcoming. Just there. Like it had been carved out quietly long ago. And forgotten. I stepped onto it without thinking. First, everything felt normal. Dry leaves crunching under my boots. The steady rhythm of my breathing. The beam of my flashlight cutting through the dark. The trees were tall and thin, stretching upward like black pillars. The deeper I walked, the quieter it became. No insects, no birds, no wind, just my footsteps. And then, another step. Behind me, I stopped. Silence. I turned around slowly. Nothing. Just trees and fog crawling low across the ground. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. Nothing moved. I told myself it was an animal. Or an echo. Or just my imagination adjusting to the dark. I kept walking. The sound returned. One step. Right after mine. Not before. Not beside me. Behind me. Matching my pace perfectly. I sped up. I sped up. I stopped again. I stopped. That's when my chest tightened. Because animals don't mirror you like that. And the forest doesn't copy your rhythm. I turned off my flashlight. Darkness swallowed everything instantly. The kind of darkness that feels thick. Like it has weight. I listened. And I heard breathing. Slow. Measured. Controlled. Right behind me. Not close enough to touch. But close enough to feel. I didn't want to turn around. But I did. I snapped the flashlight back on and spun around in one motion. Nothing. No one. Just fog drifting between the trees. But something felt wrong. I looked down. The path I had been walking on was gone. No dirt trail. No footprints. No sign that I had walked there at all. Just forest floor. Unbroken. Untouched. My heart started pounding harder. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. The compass app kept spinning. That's when I saw it. A faint yellow light. Far ahead. It wasn't moonlight. It wasn't my flashlight. It was steady. Warm. Like a window in the distance. I stood there for a long moment. Every instinct told me to turn back. But I couldn't. Because there was no path behind me anymore. So I walked toward the light. The trees bent inward as I moved forward. Branches twisted above me like they were forming a tunnel. The air felt warmer, heavier. The silence became deeper. And then I saw it. A cabin. Small. Crooked. Old wood darkened by time. One window glowing softly from inside. It didn't look abandoned. But it didn't look lived in either. There were no tire tracks. No footprints. No sound. Just that single light. I stepped onto the porch. The wood creaked under my weight. The door was slightly open. I pushed it gently. Inside was one room. A table. A chair. A lantern burning in the center. No electricity. No decorations. No dust. The room was clean. Too clean. On the table was a notebook. Open. Waiting. I stepped closer. The last page read, "You shouldn't have followed the path." My throat went dry, because that wasn't the first page. The rest were filled. Names. Dozens of them. Each one crossed out. Except one. Mine. The lantern flickered. The air shifted. The door behind me closed. Slowly. Without sound. I didn't turn around immediately. I didn't want to see it. But I felt it. Standing between me and the exit. Tall. Too tall. its head nearly brushing the ceiling. His body shaped like a man, but wrong. Too thin, too long. No face, no features, just darkness where a face should have been. And somehow, it was looking at me. Took one step forward. The floor didn't creak. The lantern flame didn't move, but my chest tightened like invisible hands were squeezing it. I backed up. My hand hit the table. The notebook fell. The lantern went out. Darkness. Complete. Absolute. I ran. I don't remember opening the door. I don't remember crossing the porch. I just remember running. Branches clawed at my jacket. Roots tried to trip me. And behind me, heavy footsteps. Closer than before. Faster. No longer matching my rhythm. Hunting. I didn't look back. Couldn't. Because I knew, if I saw it clearly, I wouldn't survive it. Then suddenly, headlights. I burst out of the trees into the parking lot. My car was still there. The broken lamp still flickering. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Signal restored. The time reads 6:12 a.m. I had entered the forest at 8:40 p.m. 8 hours had passed, but it felt like minutes. I drove home in silence, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, that it was stress, exhaustion, hallucination. When I unlocked my apartment door, there was dirt on the floor, wet leaves near the entrance, and on my kitchen counter, a torn page from that notebook, with my name crossed out. Underneath it, in fresh ink, "Next time, don't run." I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch with every light turned on. The page stayed on the kitchen counter. I didn't touch it. I didn't want to. Every time I looked at it, I felt like something was looking back. Morning came slowly. The world outside looked normal. Cars passed. People walked their dogs. Sunlight filled the room. It almost convinced me it had all been a nightmare. Almost, until I checked my shoes. They were still covered in dried mud that didn't belong anywhere near my apartment. I told myself I wouldn't go back, that no sane person would go back. But by late afternoon, I was already driving north again. I needed proof. I needed logic. I needed to see that the cabin wasn't there, that the path didn't exist, that my mind had broken for a few hours and stitched itself back together. The parking lot was there. The broken lamp still flickered. But this time, there were other cars, 2 of them. That made me hesitate. If someone else had taken that path, then maybe I wasn't crazy. I stepped out of the car. The air felt warmer than it should have. Even though it was early evening, I walked toward the main trail first, then slowly toward the trees, toward where the hidden path had been. And there it was, clear as day, a narrow dirt trail, visible, obvious, like it had always been there. My stomach dropped, because that meant something had changed, or something wanted me to return. I wasn't alone this time. About 50 meters ahead of me, I saw someone walking, a man, maybe mid-30s, backpack, flashlight. He looked normal. Relieved, I called out, "Hey!" He turned slightly. His face was pale. Sweat covered his forehead. "You see the cabin too?" he asked. My blood went cold. "You've been there." He nodded. "There's something wrong with it." He laughed nervously. "I thought I was losing it." I stepped closer. "Did you see the notebook?" His smile faded. "What notebook?" We walked together, 2 flashlights cutting through the dark. The forest felt tighter than before. The trees seemed closer, leaning inward, watching. He introduced himself as Mark. He had found the trail a week ago, came back yesterday, and today. "Why do you keep coming back?" I asked. He hesitated. "Because I think it wants me to." We reached the clearing. The cabin stood exactly where it had been. Same crooked roof, same glowing window, same silence. Mark stopped walking. "That's it," he whispered. "You go first," he added quickly. I didn't argue. I stepped onto the porch again. Creaked the same way. The door was still slightly open. Pushed it. The lantern was lit. The table was there. The notebook was there. But this time, the pages were blank. Every single one. Mark stepped inside behind me. "You see? Nothing," he said. His voice was shaking. He was trying to convince himself. I walked to the table slowly. My heart was pounding again. I turned the first page. Blank. Second page. Blank. Third page. Blank. Then I reached the last page. And there it was. 2 names. Mine and his. Neither crossed out. Yet, the lantern flickered. Mark stepped back. Okay. That's not funny. The door slammed shut. The air shifted again. That pressure returned. He turned toward the door. Something stood there, taller than before, wider. His head tilted slightly, like it was studying us. Mark screamed. He ran for the window. There was no window anymore, just wall, solid wood. He turned back, and that thing moved, faster than anything should move. It didn't walk. It stretched. 1 second it was near the door. The next, it was behind him. I didn't see what happened. I only heard it. A sound like wet fabric tearing. Mark's scream cut short, and then silence. When I turned around, he was gone. No blood, no body, just empty space. And the notebook on the table. I looked down slowly. His name was crossed out. The lantern went out again. Darkness swallowed everything. But this time I didn't run immediately, because something felt different. It wasn't chasing me. It wasn't breathing behind me. It was waiting, waiting for me to understand something. I whispered into the dark. What do you want? Silence. Then a voice. Not loud, not whispering, just inside my head. You came back. I ran, harder than before. The forest stretched endlessly. The trees felt closer, the ground uneven. But this time, there were no footsteps behind me, no breathing, no chase, only silence. When I burst into the parking lot again, it was midnight. Only 6 minutes had passed since I entered. Mark's car was gone, like it had never been there. I drove home shaking. I searched his name online the next morning. Nothing. No social media. No missing persons. No record. It was like he had never existed. Except, I remembered him. And the notebook remembered him too. That night I dreamed of the cabin. But I wasn't outside. I was inside, standing next to the table. And the tall figure was sitting in the chair, looking at me, not with eyes, but with awareness. The notebook was open again. But this time, it wasn't names written inside. It was paths, maps, trails, and one of them led somewhere new, a deeper forest, farther north, somewhere I had never been. When I woke up, there was dirt on my floor again, fresh, wet, and under my apartment door, a folded piece of paper. I picked it up slowly. My hands were shaking. It was a map, hand-drawn, crude, leading somewhere far beyond the first trail. And at the top, one sentence. You are not done walking. I haven't told anyone about this, because I don't think it's hunting randomly. I think it chooses. And I think, when you step onto that path, it doesn't just mark your name. It studies you. It waits. And if you come back, take someone else first, just to show you what it can do. I don't know how many names were in that notebook before mine. I don't know how many are left. But I know this. The trail is still there. And sometimes, late at night, I hear footsteps in my hallway, matching my pace, just one step behind. And I'm starting to think, the forest didn't stay in the woods. It followed me home. The first thing that changed was the silence. My apartment had never been completely quiet before. There was always something, a refrigerator hum, a distant car, a neighbor's footsteps upstairs. But after that second night in the forest, the silence became thick, dense, like the air was holding its breath. I began hearing things that didn't belong. Not loud noises, not obvious sounds, just movement. Behind me, always behind me, the footsteps started 3 nights later. I was brushing my teeth, and I heard it. One step, soft, on the wooden floor behind me. I froze. The bathroom mirror reflected the hallway. Empty. I told myself it was the pipes, or the building settling. I rinsed my mouth, turned off the water, and that's when it happened again. One step, closer, I didn't turn around. I stared into the mirror, waiting. The hallway light flickered, just once, and for a fraction of a second, something darker than darkness moved across the reflection. Not passing by, standing, right where my living room begins. I spun around. Nothing. The room was empty, the front door locked, windows sealed, but my chest felt tight, like the forest air had followed me inside. I stopped sleeping after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I dreamed of the cabin. But the cabin was different. It was bigger, deeper, rooms branching off into black corridors. And the notebook wasn't on the table anymore. It was nailed to the wall, pages turning by themselves, names being added, crossed out, added again. I tried to distract myself. Work, phone calls, television. But the forest didn't leave. It bled into everything. I started seeing trees in places they didn't belong, in reflections, in shadows, in the dark corners of rooms, branches stretching across ceilings, thin shapes bending just outside my peripheral vision. And every time I looked directly, nothing. 3 days later, I got a call. Unknown number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. A woman's voice, low, shaking. Did you walk the trail? My stomach dropped. Who is this? Please answer me. I hesitated. Yes. There was silence. Then breathing. Heavy. Uneven. I saw it too. Her voice cracked. I went last week. My brother went after me. He didn't come back. I swallowed. What do you mean? I mean he vanished. She said his name. Ethan Parker. I searched online immediately after the call ended. Missing person report filed 2 days ago. Last seen near the Northern Reserve. The same forest. The same parking lot. The same date I went back the second time. He had walked the path. I met her the next day. Public place. Bright cafe. People everywhere. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept. You believe me, don't you? She asked. I didn't answer immediately, because I didn't know if I believed myself. She leaned forward. There's something wrong with that place. I know, I said quietly. She showed me something on her phone. A photo, taken in the forest. The night, the cabin in the distance. But something was different. In the window, you could see a silhouette, tall, standing, and beside it, another shape, smaller, human-sized. Is that your brother? I asked. She nodded slowly. He went inside, her eyes filled with tears. He never came back. I stared at the photo, because I recognized the silhouette next to the tall figure. It looked like someone standing very still, looking down. And even though the image was blurry, I felt something shift in my chest, because the posture looked like mine. That night, I couldn't breathe properly. The air in my apartment felt thinner, colder, heavier. I checked the locks 3 times. Windows sealed, lights on, and still, the footsteps returned. 1 step, behind me, every time I moved. I decided to test something. I walked slowly from my kitchen to the hallway. 1 step, pause. 1 step, pause. And I heard it, perfectly synced. Just half a second behind. I stopped suddenly. Silence. I turned around fast. Nothing. But this time, the air in the hallway looked distorted, like heat waves rising off asphalt, except it was cold. I grabbed my phone and turned on the camera, pointed it behind me. Through the screen, I saw it, for the first time clearly, a tall silhouette, standing inches from my back, his head tilted slightly, its arms too long, no face, but watching. I dropped the phone. When I looked again, nothing was there. But the phone screen still showed it, standing, right behind me. The map from the cabin appeared again that night, on my kitchen counter. No sound, no movement, just there. The new path was darker, thicker forest, marked deeper north, a final clearing circled in black ink. And beneath it, finish the walk. I understood then, it wasn't done with me, and I wasn't meant to escape. I was meant to return, not to survive, but to complete something. The next morning, the woman who called me texted once. "Meet me tonight. Same forest." I didn't reply, but I went, because I needed answers, and because part of me knew, if I didn't go willingly, it would drag me there anyway. The parking lot was empty again. No broken lamp flickering this time. No wind, no sound, just the path. Waiting. She was already there, standing at the edge of the trees. "We end it tonight," she said. I nodded. We stepped onto the trail together, and this time, the forest felt alive. Not quiet, not empty, but breathing, watching, every tree leaning inward, every shadow thicker, every step heavier. Halfway down the trail, she stopped. "Do you hear that?" I did, but it wasn't behind us. It was ahead. Footsteps, slow, measured, walking away from us, like something was leading us forward. We reached the clearing. The cabin was there, but it was larger now, wider, the wood darker, the windows black, no lantern, no light. The door opened on its own. We didn't push it. It just opened. Inside, there was no table, no chair, no lantern, just walls, covered in pages, hundreds of them, names, dates, photographs, people standing on the path. Every one of them had something in common. They had returned, at least once. I saw my name, crossed out, written again, crossed out again, and beside it, a new word, replacement. She stepped closer to the wall. "Look at this," she whispered. There was a photo of her brother, standing in the cabin, and behind him, a silhouette. But this time, the silhouette had his outline. Same height, same build, same stance. The air changed again. The temperature dropped suddenly, and from the far corner of the room, it stepped forward. The tall figure, but it wasn't tall anymore. It was normal height, human height, because something else stood behind it now. Something larger, more distorted, more complete. The human-shaped figure spoke, and the voice was mine. "You came back." My blood froze. It looked exactly like me. Same face, same clothes, but empty, like a hollow shell wearing my skin. The larger shape behind it moved closer, and I understood. The first silhouette isn't the predator. It's the mold. The forest copies you, replaces you, sends the copy back, and keeps the original. She screamed. The walls shifted. The pages began tearing themselves free. Wind howled through the room. The human-shaped version of me stepped forward, and the larger thing behind it reached. I ran. She didn't. I heard her scream cut short behind me. The cabin stretched endlessly. The door moved further away. The walls pulsed like living tissue. I didn't look back. Couldn't, because I knew what I'd see. I burst out of the forest alone. Sunrise. The parking lot. Silent. Empty. Her car gone. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Nothing. When I got home, my neighbor stared at me strangely. "You look tired," he said. "I've seen you walking the hallway all night." My stomach dropped. "I wasn't home," I whispered. He frowned. "You were." I locked myself inside, turned on every light, and sat in front of the mirror. For a long time, nothing happened. Nothing moved, until I blinked. And my reflection didn't. Tilted its head slowly, the way the silhouette did, and it smiled, just slightly. Then everything went black. When everything went black, I didn't wake up. I didn't scream. I didn't feel pain. I felt stillness, like something had pressed pause on the world. Then slowly, sound returned. Not the city, not my apartment. Wind, leaves moving, branches bending. I opened my eyes. I was standing in the forest, alone. No cabin, no path, no parking lot, just trees stretching in every direction. Endless. I tried to move, but my body felt heavier, like gravity had increased. I looked down at my hands. They were mine, but slightly delayed. When I moved my fingers, they followed half a second later. Not synced, like I was watching myself through a screen. Then I saw it, standing 10 meters ahead. Me, perfect, still, facing me, not a shadow, not a silhouette, my face, my clothes, my exact posture. But its eyes were wrong, empty, glossy, unblinking. It didn't walk toward me. It didn't rush. It just waited, like it had all the time in the world. Then it spoke, and the voice was identical to mine. "You shouldn't have come back." I tried to speak. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Took one step forward. I felt pressure in my chest, like my lungs were being compressed from the inside. Another step. The trees around us began to shift, bending inward, closing the space. "You walked the path," it said calmly. "You returned. You completed the circle." Behind it, the larger shape emerged. The true thing, tall beyond proportion, limbs stretching unnaturally long. Its body made of darkness layered on darkness. Its head tilted sideways, observing. The forest wasn't hunting. It was farming. It lures, copies, it replaces. Every name in that notebook wasn't crossed out because they died. It was crossed out because they were harvested, rewritten, replaced, sent back into the world. I understood then. Mark didn't disappear. The woman didn't disappear. They were taken, copied, returned. And something else was walking around wearing their faces. My copy stood directly in front of me now, close enough to touch. It reached out, placed its hand against my chest. It was cold, not skin cold, stone cold. And suddenly, I felt my memories slipping, like pages being torn out of a book. My childhood, my apartment, my name, my parents. The forest began absorbing them. I tried to resist, tried to remember something solid, something real. But every time I focused, the copy smiled, and something behind my eyes dimmed. "You don't leave the path," it whispered. "You become it." The larger shape moved closer, and I felt my body hollowing, like something was draining through my spine. My hands became lighter, transparent at the edges. My heartbeat slowed, and then everything stopped. I opened my eyes, standing in my apartment, lights on, silence, normal. I walked to the mirror, reflected perfectly, breathing steady, skin warm. Everything looked right. I picked up my phone. It unlocked with my face, my fingerprint, my life, perfect. I walked into the hallway. My neighbor opened his door. "Long night?" he asked. I smiled. "Just a walk." He nodded and closed his door. I turned toward my apartment again. But as I reached for the handle, I felt something behind me. One step, matching mine, half a second late. I didn't turn around, because I already knew. There were two sets of footsteps now. One ahead, one behind. Days passed. Life continued. Work emails, traffic, sunsets, everything normal. Except, I never blinked at the same time as my reflection anymore. And sometimes, when I passed a mirror, it didn't copy me instantly. It waited, like it needed instructions. Then one evening, I walked past a park, a narrow dirt path cut between two trees, not marked, not listed, just there, waiting. A young man stood at the entrance, looking uncertain, curious. He glanced at his phone. No signal. I stepped closer. "Beautiful trail," I said softly. He looked at me. "Have you walked it before?" I smiled. "Once." He hesitated. "Is it safe?" I tilted my head slightly, the way the silhouette used to. "If you don't run." He laughed nervously and stepped onto the path. I watched him disappear between the trees, and somewhere deep in the forest, a lantern flickered back to life. That night, I stood in front of my mirror again. The reflection stared back. Then it tilted its head, not mimicking me, leading me, and behind the reflection, for just a moment, the tall shape stood in the room, watching, satisfied. The forest doesn't kill. It replaces. And if you ever see a narrow path between two trees, unmarked, unlisted, waiting, don't follow it. Because if you come back, it won't be you anymore.